All right, everybody, what's going on? Hello, hello, hello. 1 second. Real Linskoff, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 10 months. Congrats to those who guessed correct this week. How many chapters do you think are left of the arc? Apparently, an editor made a comment about there being more than the climax. Also, like the stream. So, let's take a quick look at who is correct. Hold on 1 second real quick. How many chapters do I think are left of the arc? So an editor's made a comment about there being more at the climax. What that means is very, very hard to say. Because it could mean, like, when the Gorosei arrived, that was a whole other section that got tacked onto the arc. Because a lot of people felt like Luffy versus Kizaru was going to be the highlight, right? I'm also going to take a look right now at who were the winners from last week. For those of you who don't know, every time we do a break week, I have started doing a stream where we see who can make the most correct predictions about what happens next chapter. So let's see who our winners are for this week. All right? Don't want to leave you guys in suspense. Let's take a look. Flashback showing Joy Boy talking to Emith. I don't think we really got that flashback, I would say. Still didn't get... Goomba Booma guessed that Emith will explode and self-destruct. He might have been just one chapter off. No, nothing like that. Next chapter, Stussy dies. Nope. Luffy's not wearing Emith's armor. Shit. Nothing really happened. Reveal that Gorosei don't have devil fruits. That was my guess. My guess was we would find out that the Gorosei don't have devil fruits. Nope. Fuck. We almost... Shafichi 9000 guessed that Emith would lose easily again, which didn't quite happen. I feel like Emith didn't lose. I feel like it's too. Let's look at it again. Emith lost easily again. I don't think that's correct. New X7 says New X7 wins. Okay, New X7, if you're in the chat, you win. You said Emith. New X7 said that Emith would say Joy Boy and Luffy would be like who? ? So New X7, congratulations. Hold on, let me write this. New X7. Correct. Where's New X7 at? New X7 is already a mod, I believe, so I feel like I can't mod him. You just get bragging rights, and you'll be shouted out in the chapter review, and you will show up in all future chapter review things as one of the winner, basically. All future chapter reviews where we're talking about who the previous winner is. The past winners will also be listed. Lilith sacrifices themselves, so Anime Dimension is correct there. Anime Dimension, also congratulations. We got some winners. Anime Dimension, if you're in the chat, make yourself known now. King G says Zoro forces Venus to retreat. That doesn't really happen. Adam CR says Atlas dies. We're also going to say that's correct. That is correct. Okay, I know I got some supers to catch up right now. Citizen says Zoro's group coup de burst to where Luffy is. All right, Citizen, you are also correct. This is good. We got some on the tail end because I was skimming through this. I was like, not a lot of people won. All right, we got some 4 winners this week. So let's see. Anime Dimension, if you're in the chat, make yourself known. And yeah, where's Anime Dimension at? Fuck, the tricky thing is people can lie. Chat, I'm broke. This Polma says, growing the beard again? Line's looking clean, Morj. No, I'm probably going to shave it tomorrow. I don't like having a beard usually. Not a beard, it bothers me after a bit. I like being clean shaven personally. So we got New X7 already a mod, Anime Dimension, who might already be a mod actually. Then we got Adam CR and Citizen. Anime Dimension says Lilith and or Atlas sacrifice themselves. So both count. Lilith and or Atlas. Actually, I don't think it's fair to say both. Because then you can't just... okay, do we want to give it to Anime Dimension? Anime Dimension... Because the problem is that Adam CR specifically predicted that Atlas dies. You know? So let's do this. Anime Dimension, one or no? They predicted Lilith and / or Atlas sacrifices themselves. Ricky Servin says Morj has a strong jaw. Growing a beard would make him look like he has a weak chin. I personally do feel like growing a beard does hide part of my face that I would like to not have hidden, I guess, basically. But also, it's more so a personal comfort sort of thing, because I just don't like the feeling of having a beard past the point. Okay, unfortunate. Wait, no, it's tight. It's 50%. Be generous, people. Don't be spiteful just because you didn't win, right? Be generous. You should be happy for other people, but at the same time, try and be fair. I think it's a combination of, like, I feel like it's not fair to do an and or for characters, but at the same time, it's correct. Okay, people are voting yes. All right, you know what? We'll give it to anime. We'll give it to anime dimension. All right, let's do it. Ryan Orley says this isn't the Special Olympics. Everyone isn't a winner. No one's saying everyone's a winner, but come on. All right, we're gonna do it. We're doing it. Okay, so Adam CR wins and Anime Dimension wins. If they show up in chat, please let's shout them out and such. Okay, let me catch up on stuff. Also, let's get the stream likes to 100 real quick. Brandino. Hey, Morj, did you hear about Big House? Man, okay, for those of you who don't know, I'm into Smash Brothers Melee, the esport. I like playing Smash Melee. I haven't played it in like 6 months or something, or no more than that at this point. I really haven't touched it in a long-ass time. But yeah, Big House is one of the premier tournaments. Smash Bros. Melee is very grassroots focused, so it's kind of like you rely on the community to be able to throw big events. Big House is one of the perennial ones. It's the second biggest that we usually have annually after Genesis. It used to be third biggest after Evo, but then we lost that too. So now it's the lots fucking riding on Genesis's back. I'm really bummed about Big House. I like to believe that Melee can make a comeback. I think a lot will depend on Nouns Esports getting into it. But I think it's more so a consequence of esports in general kind of taking a downturn, because a lot of esports was based on investments and an assumption that the esports sort of bubble or market was bigger than it actually was. And so as investors are slowly realizing that that's not actually the case, a lot of it, the esports bubble is kind of bursting. And Melee is going to take the brunt of that because it doesn't have developer support. Like Nintendo doesn't support esports, whereas a lot of these other games, the developers have incentive to try and like push that and keep it going. Like Blizzard wants Overwatch to be an esport, and it kind of forces that whether or not it has any right to be. Dila Joyboy, thank you for the 20. Holy shit. NL Theory. He isn't leaving the moon. He has no reason to. Instead, he will be used for a reaction shot. Luffy's final biggest punch on the final foe will rubberize the Earth, stretching all the way to the moon. That would be really, really fucking funny. Wait, I'm gonna continue this NL Theory from Dila Joyboy. I don't see the rest of his theory. I only see the first one. I only see 1 out of 2. I don't see the rest of it. If anybody sees the rest of it, let me know. But thank you, Dila Joyboy. Yokai Gota, thank you for joining the Yonko. First of all, I have a big-ass apology to make to Yonko members, because you were supposed to get a weekly podcast, which I record each and every week. I found out today that last week's weekly podcast didn't go up because I didn't send it, because I recorded it so late at night. I have the weekly podcast from last week. So basically tomorrow you guys will be getting 2 podcasts. The one that I record for this week tonight, and then the one that I recorded last week but never I send it to someone and then she uploads it basically. But I'm so sorry about that. I recorded that one really, really late at night. I was tired. I did the recording. I was like, pat myself on the back. Good job. Recording done. Roll over. Go to sleep. Forgot the most fucking important step, which is send it. So I did not even realize till today that last week's podcast didn't go up. So tomorrow, 2 podcasts are going up. Hope you guys enjoy. But Yokai Gota, thanks for joining. And again, you have access now to the weekly Yonko member podcast. Dila Joyboy continues. Thank you for the 10, man. Okay, before slinging them into space, he was unable to die. So eventually he stopped thinking. Also, the impact of the punch could force the sunken lands to rise back to the surface. Oh, shit. That part's interesting, if Luffy's fruit is powerful enough to do that. I just don't know if just straight power-wise Luffy will ever be there, because that's kind of busted. You know what I mean? Like, if Luffy can warp the shape of the planet itself through his fruit. Whereas I like where the fruit's at kind of right now, where it's reality warping to some degree, but it's within the realm of, like, hey, this is a fun comedic twist to Luffy's current power level. Right? Like, it's a fun X factor to what Luffy could already kind of do. If it becomes like the fruit is just change the whole planet and everything like that, I think that would throw off a lot of what is fun about seeing Luffy fight right now, personally. But I do like the idea that that NL is used for a reaction shot some point down the line yet again. I also think that NL is the type of character who technically has no reason to come back down to Earth. He did say his final words as he was leaving Earth are literally, "I'm gonna be back one day." So that's something to consider. But on the moon, he can kind of rule the way he likes as a god yet again. So maybe there's not that much reason for him to take a trip back down south, you know? Callum Francis, thanks a lot. What's your idea for the shame fruit? I don't even know what that means. What? The shame fruit? Is that a real fruit? Would it be revealing other people's most embarrassing secrets? Because I think that's actually a really fun fruit. That's like threatening, you know? That's like a scary fruit to have because it's like a lot of people don't like being blackmailed about their most embarrassing secrets or the most embarrassing things that they've done. So it's the ultimate blackmail fruit. Polmao, thanks for being a member for 21 months, man. It is always good to see you on stream. I already addressed this. Growing the beard again. Thank you, Polmao. Tomahawk PWPT, thanks for the 5. Adam should get a bigger cut because he actually committed to who was the sacrificed. Anime played it safe, saying... Anime Dimension played it safe, saying one, other, or both. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's tricky, but then you could also argue that Anime Dimension, they submitted theirs first, so Adam CR then gets the added benefit of seeing... Shit, actually, that's true. Because one of the rules I have is that, like... That is true. One of the rules that I have at the start of these things, I think I have to take it away from Adam. Because one of the rules I have is basically, and I've reiterated that a few times, but I'm just trying to finish my thought here. You can't just take something somebody else did and then do a slight variation on it. It either needs to be a substantial variation or it just doesn't count. So I don't think Adam CR can get it. I agree, actually. Because Adam CR's is technically more accurate. Or not more accurate, it's technically tighter and simpler. Atlas just dies. But Anime Dimension had to do a bolder prediction, which was Atlas and or Lilith sacrifices themselves, right? Which is correct. And they did it first. The and/or is tricky, but I guess we have some leniency there because Adam CR was more correct there. But they got to see what Anime Dimension did and then do their own version, right? So getting to see somebody else's is an advantage. So first mover, I should give priority to that. So I'm gonna say New X7, unequivocally correct. Anime Dimension, we did the poll. The people say you're correct, and Citizen is also correct. So congratulations to those people. Let's watch out for New X7 is obviously already in stream, but Anime Dimension we got to watch out for. Patrick Malone, thanks for the 5. You said you want Vegapunk to accuse the world government more explicitly. I think the chapter makes it clear he wants the people to go to the source. It's definitely contrived, though. This is one of those where it's just like, I hope that the next chapter, Vegapunk is more directly pointing at the evil that the people need to turn to, because this chapter gave an emotional component to Vegapunk's story and his motivations, which is that the world government killed Clover's brother for speaking out against the world, or for being a D, and then they killed Clover for speaking out and trying to reveal the secrets of the world government, right? Vegapunk is doing a lot of this because he's carrying on the legacy of Clover in some way, or at the very least, the story of his friend inspired him. Vegapunk, I don't know. Like, he knows who the evil is. He knows what's best for the world. He knows why it's so... He knows the simple fact that the world government fights so hard to prevent anyone from finding out these secrets says something about the world government and the type of entity the world government is, and that the world is worse off for having the world government the way it is, right? I feel like him just leaving it very vague as to what the actual problem is, I think that would be disappointing, considering that we now have an emotional component to Vegapunk's story, right? It all stems from, like, he's a man of science, sure, but it seems like this whole spiel, it stems from the heart, essentially, right? That's where it originated from. That's where his impetus was for starting this whole line of research and carrying on what Clover was doing, right? So, I don't know. let's see what it is next chapter, because I fell into the trap of underestimating Oda previously and being like, why was Vegapunk's speech this shit and not like the key components? And then Oda dramatically has the twist that, hey, Emit's back up, the speech is still rolling and shit. I wasn't done yet. So I'm just going to wait till it seems like Vegapunk's speech finishes. And then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wait another chapter or two longer, just in case Oda hits us with the with the double turnaround and the speech just keeps going. So I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna be respectful from here on. You know, Oda knows what he's doing. Joby, thanks for the 5. Mr. Lorge, do you think Lilith will join Judge and Caesar and form Mads? No! Lilith is technically evil, but she's not evil like that. She's still got the heart and soul of a Vegapunk. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Come on, Lilith's not joining those clowns. I feel like Lilith on the... No, I just don't feel like that's... Come on, man. You think Lilith's gonna join forces with Caesar, the child experimenter, and Queen, the fucking, like, prison torturer or whatever? Like, I don't know. Prisoner torturer, whatever the fuck he was doing. Like, or Judge, the fucking abusive father. I just feel like Lilith's not like them. You know, she's an evil part of Vegapunk, but she's not the worst part of Vegapunk. That was York, right? It seems like Lilith's been a good character as far as we've fucking seen. I don't know yet why she's considered the evil part of Vegapunk. We'll see. I just don't feel like Lilith will join them. I don't think I would enjoy that personally. Justin Holland, what is up, man? Always good to see you. Thank you for being a Pirate King tier member for 21 months. Holy shit. What do I think the theme of Elbaff could be? Maybe fate and free will could finally be discussed? Guesses for villains of the Elbaff arc. What could Luffy do by the time he faces the final villain? Okay, that's a great fucking question. What I think the themes of Elbaff might be. I feel like... so, two things. This arc heavily focuses on free will. This is the arc that's primarily... Like, arcs hit on multiple themes multiple times, right? Like, friendship is the most important theme of Alabasta, but that doesn't mean that other arcs don't focus on friendship and Nakama and shit, you know? Arcs usually have different takes on the same themes, but this arc right now, this is the arc where free will is the most important thing, because that's just what all the characters are experiencing, outside the Strats themselves, but every fucking character. Kuma, free will is like one of the cruxes of his story, right? Life started as a slave, seems to be ending as a slave, but all throughout it he's fought back in his own way, and free will still seems to be keeping him alive at the core of it, right? Seraphims, free will, right? York going against Vegapunk's wishes, free will. Marines like Sentamaru rebelling, free will. CP0, Stussy, Kaku rebelling, free will. All of this is free will. Like, this is an arc that's completely about characters who are who are programmed in certain ways, brainwashed in certain ways, trained to act in certain ways, and they're all individually breaking free and acting freely, right? That's why, you know, Luffy as Nika is being played up so much this arc, as I'm sure he will be in many arcs, but he is the symbol of freedom and free will. That's also inspiring a lot of these characters like Kuma, etc., right? Now, free will I don't think is necessarily going to be safe for Elbaff. I do think that ideas such as, because if we look back at like the Little Garden arc, right? Little Garden arc, and generally the ideas that seem to be defining, like what do we know about the setting, right? What we know about the setting is basically it's going to be defined by these Viking-type characters who really, really value, like, courage, bravery, honor in their duels and their challenges and things like that, right? That was a lot of the themes of Little Garden. I think we can expect Usopp to be a very important character here, and those are, of course, a lot of the themes that are very relevant to him. So I think those things are going to matter quite a bit. And I feel like, low-key, this might be extrapolating too much from Little Garden, but, like, I feel like there was, like, the pride of a warrior. That's a big theme of Little Garden. But, like, the pride of a warrior and the respect they give to other warriors might be a big theme. Because we are going to see, most likely, like, Luffy and the Strats maybe coming up against Shanks and the red-haired pirates. And not in, like, a, hey, we hate you and you hate us kind of a way. But, like, this whole story was about Luffy earning the respect of Shanks. Not the whole story, but that's what we started off with in Chapter 1. That Luffy's like, I'm going to earn your respect, and I'm going to build a crew that is as good or better than yours. I feel like that meeting of equals is like an important theme of Elbaff. So that's what I'm kind of looking forward to in Elbaff, I think. Guesses for the villains of the Elbaff arc, and what could Luffy do by the time he faces the final villain? Villain of Elbaff arc, I think there's either two ways about it. Either there's no true villain and it's just like Luffy versus Shanks and the red-haired pirates with maybe Kid thrown in, or Blackbeard comes in and plays spoiler in that arc and is an evil third entity. Maybe kind of like how Mr. 3 was in Little Garden, although I might be drawing too much from Little Garden, so I don't want to fall into that trap. But I think Blackbeard is the only one that really makes sense right there, unless maybe some... Because, like, the problem with Elbaff right now is that it is very fucking difficult for a true force to be a real threat. Like, and if you think about Elbaff right now, the setup that we have, right? So we have, first of all, there will be the Giants, who are already the strongest fucking nation canonically in the world, right? That was established in Whole Cake Island. Elbaff is the strongest nation in the world, at least it's considered to be, right? So you've got the strongest nation in the world, right? 2, you'll have the Straw Hat Pirates arriving there, so a full-ass Yonko crew. And 3, the Red-Haired Pirates also seem to treat Elbaff as one of their bases and will likely be lurking around the area. They'll be returning to the area most likely for the arc, right? So you've got 2 Yonko crews and, like, the most powerful nation. The Marines are not doing jack shit to Elbaff. You would need to send the whole kitchen sink. Like, the Marines would need to organize everybody a la Marineford again and send them just at Elbaff if they wanted to fuck with the Straw Hats at Elbaff, right? They would need to be an all-out war. It's like, even just right now at Egghead, they're essentially having to send Admiral and like a bunch of Vice Admirals and Buster Call level effort, etc., right? But that wouldn't even hold a candle to what they would have to do to try and assault Elbaff, right, come the Elbaff arc. So, to me, I think Elbaff is going to be like this sort of bubble where the world government is not going to be able to be genuinely a force to attack them. So I think the only thing that could really be a true antagonist for the Elbaff arc could be like a sneaky character that's able to get into, like, infiltrate the arc in a way that the characters don't expect and play like this sort of secret third-party evil role. And that would be Blackbeard, at least as far as I could guess, right? Because there's just no feasible way. It's like, who the fuck are you going to send to Elbaff, right? Like, you want to send... Like, Kizaru doesn't work. We already know that. You want to send Kizaru plus Green Bull, the dude who shat his pants the moment Shanks, like, fucking flexed from 4 miles away? Like, if you send Kizaru, Green Bull, and Fujitora, like, how much of a difference is all of this really making when there's, like, 2 Yonko, 2 full-ass Yonko crews, the entire nation of giants? Like, just right now, look at what a handful of giants are doing. Like, the Dory and Brogy weren't even there, right? It was just fucking Oimo, Kashi, and some other bullshit, and, like, Hadru, or, like, the random giant pirates or whatever. They were fucking up the entire Buster Call, right? This was when Luffy, Dory, and Brogy hadn't even showed up yet. So the Marines cannot really touch Elbaff once everybody's assembled there. So the villain of Elbaff would have to be something like a Blackbeard, I think, and he can do that by being a sneaky, sort of underhanded, like, hidden villain or something. Anyway. Moving on, Caleb Brown, thank you for the 5. When Luffy finally learns who Joy Boy and Nika are, how will he react to being the new Joy Boy with Nika's fruit? Will he laugh or be upset about it? Okay, so actually, I was just reading Voice of the People comments, and I think Justin Holland, who just commented, he submitted a Voice of the People. That's for top-tier Pirate King level patrons who make submissions for what I will talk about in the chapter review. But anyway, Justin Holland also mentioned, like, when is Luffy going to learn who Joy Boy is, etc.? So, Caleb, I think that it's funny because I just read that there and now I'm reading it here. So, Caleb, how Luffy will react to Joy Boy and Nika and everything, I just feel like Luffy is the type of character who just almost never really cares about these lore sort of things. He tends to care more about people and connections. So, the only times I've really seen Luffy tune in and care about lore stuff is like, you know, like he's being told the story of Odin by Inuarashi in Act 1 of Wano. And Luffy cares because this is the story of a man that is Momonosuke's father, that Inuarashi is close to, etc. Luffy can tune in for that. Sometimes he doesn't even tune in for that if he's already made up his mind. Like he already knows that he likes Nami, so he's going to tune in for Nami, right? Like lots of times Luffy... Like, the only times Luffy really cares for background information is when it motivates him emotionally. I don't know how much learning about Joy Boy and Nika is going to matter to Luffy. Because the other times Luffy cares about information is like when they're being taught about the road poneglyphs, but that's because it leads Luffy to his goal, which is One Piece. So he'll tune in for certain things like, oh, this will get me to One Piece. Cool. I want to do that, right? Joy Boy and Nika is a totally different realm where it's like either Oda's going to wash it away, like wipe it away, Luffy will hear about it once and be like, doesn't matter to me, or it's set to be something that's very significant for Luffy's character, where it actually affects his sense of self and his journey, right? I think there's only two ways to kind of take it. Either it's going to be like Luffy plays it off and kind of just forgets about it. He's like, Joy, but no, I'm just Luffy. Like, don't know anything about that. I'm just me, right? Or it actually affects how Luffy views the context of the whole story. I would love to see it affect Luffy's sense of self and like maybe a potential little character bit of self-reflection that he could have, which he very, very, like, Luffy's not a self-reflective type. The only time in the story he's been made to self-reflect really is like post Marineford, right? I would love if this Joy Boy Nika stuff makes him do that, but I wouldn't expect it. And I don't think it's necessary for the story. I just think, for me, it's like, oh, it'd be nice if we got that, but I don't think it's necessary. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like if Venus Juro mentions Ryuma and that plays into Zoro's story in a certain way and he learns more about Ryuma, I'm like, oh, that would be nice to have, but I don't think that's like necessary for Zoro's story or anything like that, right? So it would be cool if Luffy takes further interest, but I think if I'm a betting man, I would bet my chips on like Oda will just have Luffy not really care about it. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Breezy2X, thanks for the 2. Can you fight? Dude, I haven't gone back to boxing in a bit, and like that's still the plan. Remember when I went to that one individual trainer and then I was like, oh, that's the reason. I went back to that one individual trainer and I was like, okay, I need to work on my cardio more. And then I did the move and everything like that. And then since then, I haven't taken the time to work on my cardio more. So the steps are basically need to work on cardio again, at least for like a couple of weeks, just to feel like I'm good. And then probably go back to take classes and not do that one-on-one trainer dude, because that guy was sketch. For those of you who remember the story, you remember. Duck20, thanks for the 5. Seems like the theme of regret might come from this arc with Vegapunk and Ohara and Kizaru and killing Vegapunk. Vegapunk and Ohara and Kizaru and killing Vegapunk. That's a really, really good point. I think that's a really good point. Oh, fuck. I mean, even just the idea of, like, fucking free will. Like, Vegapunk himself. This whole thing, like... Sorry, I'm just going off. I'm like, Vegapunk's story is also fucking free will. Like, Vegapunk, he was like, oh, I'm paid by the government. I'm not going to betray them or whatever. That's what he told Clover. But, hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, I just had to make a note there. Just a little realization. Because, like, again, throughout this arc, I'm looking out for, like, wait, for every single fucking important character, except for Bonnie, because she never really had a problem with free will. Although she kind of did. I think she broke free of Cypher Pole or whatever, but that's not the same thing. Every other fucking major character or faction, it's been all about free will and, like, breaking free of what you're supposed to do and doing what your heart wants you to do instead. And now I'm just realizing that's also Vegapunk's story, too. Isn't that cool? Like, Vegapunk's story... Because the recurring idea with all of these characters breaking their orders for instead to do what they want, the idea is not just they're being rebellious. The idea is always that they're doing it for emotional bonds and connections they have, right? Like Seraphim Hancock, she disobeys her programming. Why? Because she loves Luffy, right? Sentomaru, he betrays the Marines. Why? Because he cares about Vegapunk. Vegapunk betrays the world government. Why? Because he cared about Clover, right? Before Clover, he wasn't going to do it. He was like, that's not my stuff. Then Clover dies. He's like, I'm going to go against what I'm paid to do, what I'm supposed to do, what I'm bought into, to instead carry on my friend's research, because the sentiments that are coming out of this for me, the legacy, the connection that's left behind, it is emotionally more important for me to carry that out. So I think that's a beautiful part of this arc, right? Kuma is the perfect ultimate example, and that's why he's the centerpiece of this arc. Kuma is a character with no brain, no consciousness, literally programmed to be a slave, and even all that can't stop him from rebelling, because he will move, like, he will travel across the seas, literally, and over mountains, basically, to get to his daughter and fight back for her, because that's the power of emotion, trumping, basically, any sort of programming, brainwashing, oppression, being turned into a slave, etc. So I think that's a really, really important part of this arc. But, to go off of your point, the theme of regret. I think the theme of regret is definitely interesting. I hadn't thought about it that much in the context of this arc, but, like, a lot of these characters do rebel post-fact once they realize that, like, they've done something wrong or failed in some way in terms of their obligations to their bonds that they have with other people. So I think that's an interesting idea that plays into it. Joseph eBay, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 6 months. Hey Morj, would not revealing the world government as the antagonist cause mass chaos in the world, and then the world government could expedite grand cleansing without the veil they had? That's an interesting question. I don't know. I think that's very hard to tell because that's one of those things where like it's how Oda writes it, you know? Because the grand cleansing is contingent, it seems, on the world government having access to mother flames to power their weapon, right? So them being able to expedite it, I don't think it's even about as I think they wanted to do the grand cleansing regardless, right? They're talking about that in chapter 1008, 1009, right? The same chapter that Emu's revealed, they're already talking about a great cleansing. So I think the great cleansing is happening either way. I don't think the speed at which they choose to do it necessarily matters as much with like, are the people in the world just thrown into chaos, not sure what to do, or with the people of the world like turned against the world government. I think either way they want to do a great cleansing now sooner than ever because it's just gotten to, like Vegapunk's speech has gotten them to a point where it's like, we probably just have to do this now regardless, right? They can't risk more people trying to find out and keep digging about the things that Vegapunk said. But I do think if Vegapunk said, like, hey, everybody turn against the world government because they did this, this, and this, right? And they're going to blow you up over the next, like, 5 shots of this thing, then I do think that would drive even more pressure on the world government to fucking kill everybody because everybody's going to try and kill them otherwise, right? Yokai Gota, thanks for the 2. Does this chapter disprove the Jupiter theory? No, because I still think that Jupiter is, like, I've still said that, like, obviously Jupiter is doing things, right? It's not like he's just just sitting and not, like, active whatsoever amongst the Gorosei. But him biting Emit's arm is definitely not, to me, like, that's not enough that I'm just like, okay, so this dude is 100% bought into the Gorosei or whatever. I definitely think that if you read the entirety of the Gorosei from the start to finish of them being on this island, Jupiter is fucking weird. The way that he's been written is weird. Oda really, really likes writing and highlighting the thoughts and the dialogue and the actions of all 4 other Gorosei, and Jupiter's just like this fucking NPC. This chapter is the most that he's ever done, but again, even this chapter, I'm not like, oh, well, this is clearly like a sign that he's exactly the same as the other Gorosei, because if you read the entirety and like just... This was the thing, like I went back through and read all of the Gorosei stuff before I was like, this dude is being written differently, at least in my opinion. Maybe it's just proven soon if this trend of him continues or if we see some more actual like characterization for him, but at the moment he's the black sheep of the Gorosei. Dick so small, I piss on my balls, thanks for the 2. Emmet reacts to Luffy like they've literally met before. Yeah, the Joy Boy stuff is interesting because I'm just like, I don't think it's reincarnation still, but I do think it's interesting that it feels as though like it's not just the same necessarily as having the same fruit. I don't know what line what line we're kind of gonna get out of this, right? I'm hoping it's not reincarnation. I still don't think it is, but it feels more substantial that like Sabo has Ace's fruit, but it's not like. And, like, there's certain points where it's like, oh, Ace's will is in my fruit or something. Like, when Sabo hits Burgess, he's like, I forgive you, but Ace doesn't. There's certain points where it's, like, gray area. But I think overall, it's never been, like Bon Clay's not walking around with the fruit that he has, and it's, like, he's, like, carrying the personality of the old hag. Now, you might say the Nika fruit is special, and it's a Zoan fruit, but it definitely feels somewhat different in terms of, like, how much people are drawing, like, Joy Boy and Nika almost as the same thing, and now that Luffy has the awakened Nika fruit, it's like he's the same person as Joy Boy. It's kind of how these people, Zunisha and Emmet, are framing it. I think we gotta wait and see. I don't know. Knut Worgen, thanks for the 5. If Kuma doesn't sacrifice himself next chapter, I'm afraid he never will. A lot of robots/cyborgs are sacrificing themselves right now. That's true. That is a significant trend. However, I feel like I would love for it to happen next chapter. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen next chapter simply because the way that this chapter ended, it feels kind of as though the big bombshell that Oda's going to drop as the centerpiece of next chapter is the conclusion of Vegapunk's speech and his last big prediction or whatever he's going to make. He's like, my last prediction is blank, right? So it feels like that's maybe the bombshell that's going to be dropped on us next chapter. In that regard, I feel like Kuma's death, you know, when Oda does the deaths of these significant characters, like Ace in chapter 573, I want to say, or no, like 574 is an entire chapter called like the death of Portgas the Ace, right? 576, the entire chapter is dedicated to Whitebeard's death. I do feel like for some significant character deaths, Oda does take some time to do it. Even Pound's fake death, that was a whole ass fucking chapter. It was a whole, that's my fucking beef with Pound's fake death, which is like the entire fucking, not the entire chapter, but I feel like it was like a solid half a chapter. It was fucking Pound's death. That's my big, like, people always, I hate reiterating this point because people don't get what I mean when I'm like, I'm okay with fake deaths, but not fake death scenes, and there's a distinction there. I don't fucking mind if Oda does like a quick little fake out or something, but I do mind when Oda does a whole dramatic scene that's clearly made to like draw dramatic death juice, like emotional, when he's clearly trying to milk emotional juice out of the reader through the idea of death. I think that when you turn that around, that's blasphemy. Because, like, movies and stories, they do fake death scenes all the time. It's like, oh, fuck, this character seems like they're shot. But then, like, a frame later, it's like, oh, no, it didn't get me or something like that, you know? Or, like, Aragon falls off the fucking cliff or something like that. And then it's like, oh, but he landed in water. And the scene later, it's revealed he's okay, right? But doing a whole ass mourning shit, like, that's different. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, Kuma. So, Kuma, I hope if he's dying as a character, because we've got so much emotion built up towards Kuma, right? Because we've got so much emotion built up for Kuma, and we love this character so much, and we're so drawn into his story, and I think a lot of people still feel like Kuma's writing might low-key be the best little short story Oda's ever done in One Piece. Like, very solid argument for that. Because of that, I feel like if Kuma's gonna die, I would love to get a solid half chapter or something devoted to that scene, that sacrifice, you know? Like, give me at least as much as Pound got. That's all I'm saying. Give me at least as much as Pound. So I feel like, you know, the way that Vegapunk just kind of died, like, not anticlimactically, but like very quickly thrown in at the end of a chapter, and we don't really dwell on it. We just keep moving on. The next chapter, then his speech starts, right? I hope that Kuma's death is not like that. So I hope that Kuma's sacrifice, if/when it happens, is one that's given the due screen time, story time that it should get, because it's just like that has the potential to be like the best death in One Piece, right? For me at the moment, Whitebeard's death is my favorite. I think that one hits me the most emotionally. I think I liked Ace's death. I think it's very, very well done. I can only speak as to what hits me the most emotionally. For me, it's Whitebeard's death. I could easily see Kuma's, depending on how it's done, even topping that. I'm not counting flashback deaths. Flashback deaths, not counted. They fall into their own category. Surreal Soap, by the way, flashback deaths, if you want to ask me my favorite, it was probably either it was a fucking three-way tie between like Bellamere, Hirolook, and Saul, and then fucking lost Saul. You ever just lose a character death? That's one of those things that shouldn't be lost, right? Like, you shouldn't be able to lose that. Like, once it's written, it's just, it's like, yeah, this is one of my top three, whatever. It's like, no, that character death never really happened. You know? It's just can't believe it used to be a three-way tie, man. And then we lost one of the we lost one of the big three. We lost one of them. It's like if the Triforce existed and then you just said it's not a fucking Triforce anymore. It's a Two-Force. I don't know what the fuck a Two-Force is. I've never heard of that. Surreal Soviet, thanks for the 5. I really hope Elbaff starts with Luffy and Usopp duo adventure like Luffy and Nami and Whole Cake or Luffy and Zoro and Wano. That would be awesome. I fucking love that idea. I also personally think that, like, the Luffy, Nami, and Whole Cake is interesting, but I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if we get some just Luffy, Nami stuff in Laugh Tale, because that's very much it's Nami's job to get them there. And I don't know, there's storylines that are about finding treasure have kind of been a Nami thing. Like, even if you go all the way back to the Game On chapter, like, Zoro's fucking sleeping on the boat, and it's just a Luffy-Nami chapter where it's about finding treasure. And if you go to Skypiea, the story, it doesn't start as Luffy-Nami, but it concludes as Luffy-Nami. You know what I mean? And it's a treasure-finding arc, you know? But I would love if we get some good Luffy-Usopp focus in Elbaff. I think that would be really, really good. Okay, 1 sec. I'm catching up on supers. Let's get the stream likes up to 150 real quick. Black Lightning, thanks for the 5. Do you also think Luffy if Luffy's in a room with one of the elders, 1v1, no food breaks, he's winning? I say no, because he said himself none of his attacks are working. I personally am one of those people that's like, I don't think you gotta... I feel like, okay, if you put Luffy in a room with Saturn, you know what's happening for the next hour? Saturn just getting his ass beat for an hour straight. Okay? So it depends what you call about winning, but like, I don't know, by boxing rules, everyone would unanimously just call Luffy the winner. They'd just be like, this dude, yeah, you didn't knock him out, but like, you fucking beat his ass for a good 12 rounds, you know? Saturn, I feel, is on the far end of the spectrum, and I feel like Warcury is all the way at the other end of the spectrum, where I feel like Warcury is the strongest. At this moment in time, I feel like it would be one of those things where I believe in Luffy to figure it out, if that makes sense. Kind of like, if you throw Luffy into the Katakuri fight, Luffy's not winning with the tools he has at the beginning, but he figures out what to do by the end. Even Luffy and Kaido, like, you throw Luffy at Kaido on the rooftop, he doesn't get it right off the bat, but you give him some attempts. Like, Kaido knocks him out, Luffy gets up with Conqueror's Haki, Kaido knocks him out again, Luffy gets up with, like, Gear 5th and shit. I don't know, I feel like if there's a way to hurt Warcury and Luffy just has to get better at using Advanced Conqueror's Haki or something, I think by the end of the fight, Luffy would figure it out. But if you say Luffy's not allowed to improve and add new abilities over the course of the fight, then I feel like just based on what we've seen, I don't see Luffy beating Warcury. And it would not be like a Saturn thing where Luffy's just slapping him around the entire time, but he's not actually knocking him out, right? Because then you'd still give it to Saturn. From what we've seen with Luffy versus Warcury, Luffy can't actually fight Warcury just yet, based on what he's shown, because even just trying to hit Warcury gets Luffy hurt instead. So, like, there's a reason that Luffy's had to... With all the other Gorosei, Luffy can knock off Saturn for a bit. Jupiter, Luffy can, like we saw Jupiter trying to attack them last couple chapters, Luffy can easily fend off Jupiter, etc. Warcury's the one that Luffy himself, like, Luffy, Dory, and Brogy, they just have to run because they can't actually, like, Luffy can't actually physically even push him back or do anything, right? Like, he can punch him, but he gets hurt instead. So, Warcury so far has kind of been the exception. I think the other Gorosei, like a Saturn, a Jupiter, probably a Mars, I don't know about Venus Jura yet, probably, maybe. I feel like Luffy, if you put him in a room, I'd still probably put my money on Luffy. With Warcury, the way things are now, I think technically I have to give it to Warcury, but I could see Luffy overcoming that if given enough time, basically, just because it's Luffy, you know? PenPal1058, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 20 months. Holy shit, man. Hope all is well, Morj. Hope all is well with you. What's your top 5 manga and characters from them? Keep on doing God's work and can't wait to listen to VOD at work tomorrow as always. Thank you so much, man. My top 5 favorite manga, right off the top of my head, One Piece, obviously. And then these other 4 are not ordered. It depends on how I'm feeling. Hunter x Hunter, Chainsaw Man, Berserk, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. There we go. Those are my top 5 favorite characters from each of them. I'm not going to say for One Piece, but for the others, I will say from Chainsaw Man, it's Makima or Denji. Denji more so from Part 2. Part 2 Denji I like a lot. Part 1 Denji, he was actually my least favorite part of it, but given the character development and where the character's kind of gone, I'd say Part 2 Denji has become one of my favorite protagonists, period. I think if you need just a snippet of why Denji's such an exceptional protagonist that's very different from anything else you'll see, I would say check out Denji's approach to the trolley problem at the start of Part 2. And I think that sums up everything. Denji's approach to the trolley problem immediately differentiates him as a really, really fucking refreshingly different shonen protagonist that you'll ever see, right? Denji is awesome. He's off in his own world as his own thing. But I didn't feel that way about him in Part 1. Part 1, I just found his shtick to be kind of like eye-rolly past a certain point. He's had the character depth slowly built into him as has gone on, right? But from Part 1, I would have said Makima. Then Hunter x Hunter, favorite character, probably either the King of the Ants or Hisoka. Is it even spoilers if I say the name of the King of the Ants? I don't know. King of the Ants is probably my favorite character from it overall. Hisoka is my favorite recurring character. And I'm really enjoying the character that's shaping up to be the prince who's shaping up to be the villain of the current arc, even though we have yet to have a lot of the substance added to him. I'm really, really enjoying that character. Berserk, my favorite character is Griffith. I'm actually not a big Guts fan. I appreciate Guts as a brilliantly written character and a very deep character and a very rich character, but that's just not the character archetype that I like following as the main character, if that makes sense. It's just not my thing. It would be kind of like in a very, very loose comparison. I know they're very different in many ways, but like, I'm not even going to bring up this comparison because people will jump down my throat about like how it's not the same, etc. But there's certain character types that I prefer as side characters rather than main characters, if that makes sense. And then from JoJo's, my favorite is just Jotaro. I also really like Johnny and Gyro from Part 7. Tom, thanks for the 2. Atlas's death is better than Ashura Doji and Izzo LMAO. Yeah, but that's like jumping over a bar that was set an inch above the ground. You know what I mean? PG24, thanks for the 5. My boxing trainer was sketch. Damn, Morj, what were you all getting into, LMAO? You think over or under 5 more chapters until Egghead ends? That's a previous stream story. You got to go check that out. I don't even know. If anybody knows which stream it is, please comment for PG24. But that's a previous stream story. That's too much to get into here. He did make me jump rope a lot for $80. So I'll say that was part of what made him sketch, but that wasn't the only part. Like, I could understand that as being like, you know, your day one, like, learn some of that, but like, that wasn't the only part. I'll say that was a piece of it combined with other stuff, basically, that just made me feel like this guy just took my money. Over under 5 more I think more than 5 chapters until Egghead ends, personally, but I think it could be less than that. I'd say over 5. Tomahawk PWPT, thanks for the 5. If it's respect for warriors in Elbaff, why wouldn't Crossguild, Shanks, and Luffy all be there? The cavalcade of characters from all 3 groups, plus Vivi. So Tomahawk PWPT continues to say, Vivi via Morgans covers the entire spectrum from Shanks to Luffy to Buggy, who no care but do Croc, Zoro, Ben Beckman, Yasop, Usopp, Bonnie. I mean, if you go back, my first video that I dropped about, like, Elbaff will be Shanks' arc way back in 2018. I was talking about how I do think at least Mihawk will be involved, and I've said in recent videos talking about like Zoro's future opponents, Sanji's future opponents, how I do think that Crossguild being in Elbaff could be a good chance, and I think that would make the arc more interesting, right? Rather than Luffy just Straw Hats versus Red-Haired Pirates, Straw Hats, Red-Haired Pirates, and third party like Crossguild, I think that would be really cool. Vinny, thanks for the 5. Because of so many previous fake out deaths, I honestly don't think I'd ever be invested in anyone's death until series actually ends and it's certain. Yeah, because what are they gonna? They trots out Whitebeard's corpse after this, and it's just like, well, like, no, because the narrator said that he died, right? Ace after I don't know. There's certain characters we know are dead, but, like, look, Pedro shows up next chapter, I wouldn't even be surprised, you know? Growth Stonks, thanks for the 5. This chapter shows Vegapunk directly inheriting Clover's will, and since the message is continuing, the name of the Ancient Kingdom will be revealed on the 27th anniversary. Oh shit, that would be really, really cool if we get the name of the Ancient Kingdom. Vegapunk did imply that he's about to reveal something about the future of the story, but name of the Ancient Kingdom would also be like a really good way to go. I just don't know how much the name of the Ancient Kingdom matters to the people, unless the name of the Ancient Kingdom makes like some big piece of the story just all click together and everybody in the world realizes something simultaneously. Anuj Agarwal, good to see you as always, man. Thanks for the 5. What have the people of the world learned since the speech came back on? The world government's legitimacy as the government still feels like it hasn't been broken. I agree. But if next chapter Vegapunk reveals something like Vegapunk's like, my prediction for the future is basically that the world government is the ones who are going to keep using the weapon. Like, the world government has the weapon and they're going to keep using it till the world is basically like 5 meters underwater, then I think that would seal it, right? Because it would fit in that Vegapunk's making a prediction, so it's not something he's sure about because he doesn't technically know who has the weapon, but it would also fulfill what we're kind of hoping out of the speech, which is turn the people against the world government. So I think that would be interesting. Hasib, thanks a lot, and thanks for your 3rd super ever. Could Clover's brother be Robin's dad? Oh shit, I'd never thought about that. And she was given her mother's name to hide the D. Also, she seems to be the only Straw Hat listening to the broadcast. I think it's unlikely slightly that Clover's brother is Robin's dad, because I think that was it an older or younger brother? I feel like it was an older brother, right? And like, let's take a look. Hold on. Clover's brother, he was my big brother, right? Okay, and then let's look up Nico de Olvia age. So she was 33 when she died. One Piece Clover age. Clover was... What the fuck? Okay, Clover, nobody's gonna fucking believe this. What the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? Oda's the wackiest dude ever, man. Okay, Clover's age is... This just seems... I don't even know how Oda picks some ages. He just picks it out of a hat. Clover is fucking 85 years old at the time of his death. 85 years old. Ovia was, 33 at the time of her death. So I think it's very possible that, and this was Clover's big brother. So let's just say, I think Robin's mom wouldn't even have been born at the time that Clover's brother was killed. But I think that's an interesting theory. That's like an interesting thing to throw out, but I just don't think that's applicable. Robin seems to be the only straw listening to the broadcast. Yeah, to be fair, Robin's the only one that kind of like listens to news and shit that much in general. Nami kind of tunes in to stay attuned. Jinbei, I think we can assume likes to stay attuned. But Robin's the one who seems to generally be the most knowledgeable about world events. If you go back to even like chapter 1089 or 1090 when Luffy's negotiating with the world government and stuff, Robin's the one that's kind of like guiding him through like, hey, this is big boy shit. This is how the world works. So like, like approach it like that. You know what I mean? So I think that it would make sense. Like, obviously it's the stuff that's most relevant to her and her history and like the stuff that she studied, etc. But I think also she's also just normally the one that cares the most about that sort of shit. BrownieBot says 80-year-olds can get some action, I guess. I don't think if Clover's older brother, no, we're not even going to go down this route. Clover's older brother is not Robin's dad, but I think that's I was just mind blown to find out Clover was 85. Like, he seemed like, are you serious? Like, Clover was 85? Because he seemed like he's fucking 50 or 60 at best, right? Like, he seemed so sprightly and full of energy and life, you know? It's practically Kureha-esque, you know? What the hell's Clover doing? That's so, like, you look at fucking Whitebeard at 76 or whatever the fuck he was, and he was like, they had to like put him on life support. I understand not all old people age the same, but like, I do not know a single 85. Like, I think my grandma is fairly in good shape and sprightly for an 80-year-old. Clover acts like he was acting like he was like 60 and shit. Like, they were throwing a birthday party for Robin or something like that. I forget. They were doing some shit. So I don't know. The Masked Man says Kureha was Clover's brother's wife. What else we got? Sorry, just catching up. Growth Stonks says this chapter shows Vegapunk directly inheriting. Oh no, we covered this. Covered this. Okay, Dick so small I piss on my fuck. Dick so small I piss on my balls. Thanks for the 2. I'm telling you, it's time travel, not reincarnation. But how though? Because like Luffy's Luffy, right? So like how? Like Luffy's Luffy. He would have to be aged down and then sent in the future, which is technically possible. No, because Bonnie's fruit doesn't even. I don't know. That's an interesting idea, but I just don't like it personally, and I'm just gonna assume that's not what it is. Basically, I'll leave it at that. JWP, thank you for being a Pirate King tier member for 19 months, man. Yo, Mr. Morj, man, long time no Morj. On vacation, but still reading the chapters. Personally like the chapter. I thought it's a good chapter. I personally thought this was a good chapter. I thought it gave some phenomenal characterization for Vegapunk, honestly. Like, this is one of those where if you go back now and read the rest of the arc, I think you will enjoy Vegapunk's character more. I still didn't really care about the Atlas stuff because I just don't really care about the expendable Vegapunks. But I do care about Vegapunk more after this, and it gives me some cool perspective on Clover and Ohara, and just it continues the theme of like inheriting will and passing that on and doing things for those who came before you, right? In the name of that. Kid Smitty 94, thanks for the 5. I unfortunately don't think Shanks will be at Elbaff. He will have left to stop Blackbeard, possibly after hearing he's got pudding. I don't know if Shanks is gonna take steps because Blackbeard has pudding. But I do think that the way things are set up, because it was even mentioned, like, it was implied that Shanks is leaving the island or something like that temporarily. I do think that Shanks will not be at Elbaff when the Straw Hats arrive. I think that's going to be a thing that comes in later. The reason being, and I've said this fairly consistently, that I don't think that the red-haired pirates are meant to be at Elbaff from the get-go. Because there is definitely some sort of a story that Oda wants to set up with the actual citizens of Elbaff, meaning like Loki, who's been built up for a bit, right? So that's hard to do and get the reader invested in if you've already got the red-haired pirates on the front and center in the storyline right off the bat. Because what we want to see is Luffy and the Straw Hats interacting with Shanks and the red-haired pirates, right? The easier way to ease the reader into the story is by having the Strats arrive at Elbaff, and then forcing us to like just interact with the giants, etc., and kind of set up the groundwork for their stories, and then bring Shanks and the red-haired pirates back, and then you've kind of got the story basically set up, and you can kind of get the general plot of what's actually supposed to be happening, or the conflict, or the Navy backfight, or whatever the fuck's supposed to happen. Then you can get that rolling. It's just going to be a huge distraction for the reader if the red-haired pirates are already there from the beginning, and the focus is just going to be all on that, and you'll have readers kind of like not caring about Loki and shit like that. So I think that's why I think Oda basically did things perfectly with Elbaff, which is establish that Shanks is going to be there. That's kind of one of his turfs, right? Sorry. Establish Shanks' presence there. Give a reason for Shanks to not be there temporarily. But then kind of make it logical when Shanks and the red-haired pirates return, right? For the actual story of the arc to take off. Meek, thanks for the 5. I can't wait to see ancient characters in the modern story like Zunisha/Emeth in the Void Century flashback in their primes. Yeah, and one of the things that I was talking about, like I talked about this in my chapter review, which I've actually already recorded, but Zunisha and Emeth, like their stories in the modern day are going to hit way harder once we've read the Void Century flashback. So it's one of those where, like, on reread, like, imagine we finished the story of One Piece. So now we know Zunisha and Emeth's story and shit. Once you're rereading One Piece, as most of us likely will, once it's all said and done, once you hit the Zoe arc and then you fucking see Zunisha being, like, made to walk and trudge along like that, it's gonna be fucking heartbreaking. Because, like, what if Zunisha wasn't a fucking elephant back then? What if Zunisha was just, like, a person? So it would be kind of like if we got to read the Straw Hat story and then we fast forward, like, 1,000 years in the future, and then we see, like, fucking Nami's been transformed into, like, I don't know, a horse, and, like, a giant horse, and she's being made to walk around the ocean aimlessly for, like centuries, carrying people and shit on her back. That would be fucking sad to see, right? So I think that, just imagine it the reverse. Void Century flashback means much greater weight added to reread in One Piece when we're reading Zunisha's story, Emeth in Egghead Island, etc. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 150 real quick. Eric Elder, thanks for the 10. Visual component of broadcast end will be Kuma flashback from God Valley. Simultaneously, Luffy will go out of Gear 5th and get hit by Saturn. Kuma dies, taking his pain juxtaposed to memory broadcast. Okay, I like the concluding idea. And first of all, thank you very, very much for your first super. That is very much appreciated. I like the idea of what you ended with. Kuma dying with that juxtaposed to the broadcast, because I feel like there's a sense of tragedy and sacrifice on Kuma's side accompanying what Vegapunk is sending off as the message to the world. So I like that idea. I don't know about Luffy, like Kuma dying, taking Luffy's pain. I like the idea of Kuma taking someone's pain one last time, but I don't know if functionally he can do that at the moment. I mean, he can. We know he can. But I don't know if Luffy's pain even needs to be taken right now. I don't know. Maybe if Luffy falls out of Gear 5th one last time and Kuma has to reawaken him one last time, that could be interesting. But I do like the idea of juxtaposing Kuma's end with the end of the broadcast. So maybe it does happen next chapter. Who knows? Oreo, thanks for the 2. Highlighting Usopp in Elbaff mentions gives me hope. I really fucking think that Usopp's going to be important in Elbaff. I really think so. I really, really do believe. Hurrying Lyrics 44, thanks for being a member for 17 months. The Gorosei sucks. Short, sweet, simple, to the point. I like it. I don't think the Gorosei sucks. I think the tricky thing with the Gorosei is that there's clearly a spectrum to their strength. So it's kind of like at least pre-time skip with the Marine Admirals, anytime an Admiral was doing anything, it felt very consistent, right? It felt like they were being portrayed very similarly, right? So an Admiral kind of meant something, you know? Whereas with the Gorosei, we start the arc with Saturn, and he's scary. He seems really scary at first, but then he gets slapped around a lot by pretty much everybody who shows up at all. So I feel like once we understand more how we're supposed to view the Gorosei, like the range of like strongest to weakest, I think they're like Warcury is clearly different from Saturn. So it's kind of like we're still kind of trying to figure out where all of these Gorosei, like how far apart are the gaps? Are they very close? Are they ranging from very high to not, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's less of a clear concept of what being a Gorosei means at the moment. Even with the Yonko, you know, the original Yonko, it's like like Kaido, Big Mom, Shanks, even Old Man Whitebeard, they can all split the sky. Like there's a very clear barometer for like this is what Yonko level kind of means, what it means to be Yonko. And even Old Man Whitebeard, he was very sickly, so it was established that he's not, nowhere near his prime, right? Whereas the other Yonko are in their prime. With the Gorosei, it just feels different because if Warcury just existed individually as a character, I might find him, like, not as a Gorosei or anything like that, but, like, if we were just introduced to Warcury and he's called a Yonko or something like that, right? We're just introduced to Warcury and Luffy's trying to fight him and he's got Dorian Broggy on his side and he can't do anything to him, even in Gear 5th. Anytime he tries to punch him, it hurts his fist, and then Luffy, Dorian Broggy just have to run away. I'd be like, holy shit, Warcury's, like, fucking strong as fuck. This is insane. But because Warcury's just part of this general blob of characters that is the Gorosei, and some of them do seem weaker than others, and, like, they're just, it's like a little bit hard to place how we're supposed to view them as a group. I think we're kind of, like, a lot of readers' perspectives right now are like, Warcury's maybe not that strong, and it's kind of just like a temporary logistical issue of like how to hurt him. You know what I mean? So it depends. I don't know exactly how we're supposed to view the whole Gorosei just yet. We're still even just trying to figure out, like, okay, people still don't know, is Venus Jura supposed to be Zoro's final opponent or not? Because that drastically skews how strong we're supposed to view him, Shit like that. D. LaJoyboy, thanks again. Thank you for the 10. The quote I had, he was unable to die, so eventually he stopped thinking, is a reference to Jojo Part 2. Are you talking about... Oh, I know what you're talking about. I know the ending. I don't want to spoil people. It is just Jojo's Part 2, and it's been out for, like... JoJo's Part 2 has been out since fucking, like, 1990 or some shit like that. I don't care. And it's not even... JoJo Part 1 is very bad. JoJo Part 2 is okay. It's only good because of its protagonist. But I don't feel bad spoiling JoJo Part 2, all right? If you don't want to be spoiled, just... I'll hold two fingers up while I'm talking about it. I can see the final villain being immortal like Cars, so space is the only way to beat them. Okay, so Emu being thrown into space. The thing is that there's an alternative to Emu being thrown into space, which is Emu being thrown to the bottom of the ocean. So I think both ways it kind of works, personally. But I see what you're getting at there. I forgot about that quote, honestly. I will say that fight, though, even though I don't like JoJo's Part 2, I love that fight, and that's one of my favorite fights in all of JoJo. The fight that you're talking about between the protagonist and that final character. I think it's a lot of fun. Hurrying Lyrics 44, thanks for the 10. Morj, whose houses you broke in? I don't know if you haven't been... I promise I did not break into anyone's house. I have moved. I've been here for the last... Since March? You've been in the stream since then. But I've been here since... Unless you're joking. Or I'm misremembering. But I've been in the house since... Not March. April. Since April. It's not a house. It's my new apartment. I like it quite a bit. Yeah, and I've been here since April. I do need some more decor in the background. That is coming soon. Don't worry about that. Some interesting decor, by the way, I should say. You guys will be interested in what's coming in the background. It's something that... I'll talk about it later. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Niall Show, thanks for the 10. You should... thanks a lot. You should check out the Unchosen One trope on tvtropes.org and the Screw the Destiny trope as well. I feel like there are archetypes that fit Ace, Shanks, Blackbeard, among others. When I was young, I used to go on TV tropes and, like, just go down that rabbit hole for, like, hours. Because you really can. Because it's just, like, you can just lose yourself. Because you can just keep clicking and clicking and clicking. And you're like, oh my god, this makes sense, and this makes sense, and this makes sense. It's such a cool site. I will check out that. I will check that out. I kind of get the idea of what those are supposed to be just from the titles. That's one of the other things I like about TV tropes. You can usually get what the idea is just from the title alone. Also, I wonder, are certain tropes popularized because of TV tropes, or they were always popularized and, like, TV tropes website came along afterwards and, like, just had them as one of the tropes? Like, the Worf effect is one that most people know of, right? Was that popular before TV tropes was a website, or, like, was that a popular trope that was just well known and then TV tropes came along and just, like, that's one of the things that's obviously listed in the site? Or did it get popular because of TV tropes? I don't know. Somebody much older than me would have to tell me. I'm a pirate. Thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 15 months, and you deserve that title for your name. I'm a pirate. Morj, can you just not see? Joyboy clearly time traveled to be inside Gold Roger's egg and to grow into Luffy. You guys remember, I did do a video. Who remembers? I did do a video called Luffy Was Born Out of an Egg. Let me explain. which was a very controversial video, and a lot of me didn't even believe it. But if it turns out to be correct, that would be, I'll just say, that would be fucking insane, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Although it's very unlikely. I'll just say, we haven't seen Luffy's mom. We haven't heard here nor there about her, you know? JWP, thanks for the 2. Gotta see Love Island with my cousins. Enjoy the stream. That sounds not fun, but hope you enjoy it, man. And JWP, thanks for gifting a membership. As usual, your presence in the stream is always greatly appreciated by the people. Who got it? Allende Hegwood. And I see you said thank you. So, good shit. Can I ask real quick, has Anime Dimension and Citizen showed up in chat yet? Have they showed up at all? Manny, thanks for the 5. Hey Morj, I've been reading Chainsaw Man and loving it. When can I watch your video on it? I'm 85 chapters in. If you finish part 1, then you can watch my video on it. And I will always shout out that video. I put so much fucking time into that video. That video, it'll always break my heart anytime I remember it. Just because the video was so, in my opinion, like, this is me just saying based on the time and effort I put in it, it was really fucking good. Every single person that's commented underneath it has basically said that it's the best Chainsaw Man video they've ever seen. Most of them are not even my viewers, like coming over from the One Piece channel, because the video just took off really fucking well and started spreading really, really well. And then it got fucking age restricted. I wish I could go back in time and just cut some of, like, Chainsaw Man has, like, random nude panels and shit like that. I wish I could go back in time and just censor some of that shit out of the video. Because One Piece has never gotten me a video age restricted, because that's not a thing, so I never thought about that crossing my mind. But the video got age restricted, it killed its growth right away, and the growth was shooting up. Like, it was genuinely tracking to be more successful than any of my One Piece videos, just because you can kind of see YouTube trajectory. And the majority of commenters were not from, like, the Morj channel. The majority of them were, like, people who had never heard of me before and, like, who is this guy? This is, like, the best Chainsaw Man video we've seen. I was very, very proud of that video and how it was doing and the reception it was getting. So it just really, really hurt, just based on the time and effort I'd put in. That probably shot a bullet through my heart in terms of my passion for the Manga Morj channel. But I don't know. I'm going to stop harping on that. I feel like I go off on a self-pitying diatribe each time that video comes up, but it just sucks, man. It sucks. I had so many dreams for that. I mean, I could have kept going, but, like, it does suck. I think I'm just going to wait for part 2 to end before I do another video on Chainsaw Man. Party McFly, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 15 months. Hey Morj, can you react to Luffy gives Lucci PTSD? It's a clip from the episode after they start their fight, and it's great. It's only about 1 minute and 30 minutes, and you can watch it at the end of the stream. So I hate to break it to you guys now. Maybe you could, if you bring that up Monday, I'll consider it. But I hate to break it to you guys now. This stream is going to have to be much shorter than usual streams, because as you can tell, I'm wearing slightly, like a shirt with buttons slightly, basically. I am leaving after this to a thing, so the stream is going to be slightly shorter than usual. I'm going to call it at 9 p.m. EST. So, you know, get your questions, etc. in right now. So I do not have time, unfortunately, to watch the Lucci PTSD thing. But, yeah. Hiyo, thanks for the 2. When will the visual Denden Mushi come into play? Fuck, I don't actually know. The visual Denden Mushi? Maybe to showcase the Gorosei and everything like that in all their evil. Hurrying Lyrics 44, holy shit, thank you for gifting 10 memberships. Thank you so much. Holy shit. Jacob, Marco Crawford, Junior Cinema, Axis, Citizen. Wait, Citizen's here? Oh, we gotta make Citizen a Citizen. First of all, congratulations. You're now a moderator. Citizen was keeping quiet. Congratulations, Citizen. You're now a moderator because you got your prediction correct. Your prediction of Zoro's group will coup de burst to where Luffy is. So congratulations, Citizen. And you get a membership on top of that. So good stream for you, right? Mario Faith Warrior, Miguel Miranda, Soga King, Y Koyo. All of you guys say thanks to Hurrying Lyrics 44. Thank you very much, Hurrying Lyrics. I do appreciate it, as do the good people of the stream who just got gifted a membership. Where was that? Moving along. Jolly D. Joestar, thanks for the 2. This arc or Elbaff is the only chance to the moon. I disagree, because I think that there's a solid chance that Laugh Tale is moon-related, because The last arc that was about like finding a really hidden treasure that nobody's ever seen was Skypiea, and they fucking ended like that was about going to the sky, right? Skypiea also concluded with NL going to the moon, almost in my opinion hinting at the one that goes beyond, right? Because there was a lot of parallels to the story of Nolan, the story of Roger, the story of searching for like a city of gold that doesn't exist. It was equated to the search of One Piece, etc. So I think there's a good shot that going to the moon is in the cards for the Laugh Tale arc. Dick so small I piss on my balls, thanks to the 5. Simple means for temporary time displacement. Vegapunk space-time warper. But I feel like Toki is simple, right? Toki is the simple way of sending Luffy to the future. Unless you mean temporary time displacement for like aging Luffy down. I could see that. Gerard, thanks for the 5. Maybe the Wano analysis was the friends we made along the way. No, because the Wano analysis is very real, and it will come before the end of Egghead. Promise. Promise is a strong word, but it will come before the end of Egghead. I think I can finish it before the end of Egghead, especially with all these breaks Oda's taking. Hurrying Lyrics 44, thanks to the 2. Chainsaw Man is mid. See you in 2 months, Morj. I will accept that because you gifted a lot of memberships. Plus, I think a lot of people, Chainsaw Man's either you like love it or hate it. But yeah, we just gotta accept it because Hurrying Lyrics 44 gifted the whole stream. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Kemba Walker says, what do you think is the future for Lilith? Who names himself after Kemba Walker? Like the semi-star guard for the Hornets like a decade ago? Not a decade ago, but you know what I mean? Let's do a quick poll. I feel like Lilith will sail on the ship. Does she become a Straw Hat or just a temporary figure? I don't know. So let's see. Does Lilith become a Straw Hat? I think that I would personally not like Lilith as a Straw Hat because I think we just need more out of the character. So hopefully we get more out of the character. The concept of being a piece of somebody else's consciousness who is now dead is very interesting as long as we can delve into that a little bit. Ender Inami says promise is a strong word, Morj. Ah, shit, you beat me to it, lol. Sorry, Ender. Okay, so most people don't think she's going to be a Straw Hat. Cool. Ali H says, bro, I forgot about the Wano analysis. Don't forget, because I haven't forgotten. Evil Monkey 919 says she never even interacted with Luffy, lol. Yeah, but it might be one of those where like there's two categories of Straw Hats, right? There are those that the art, like in the arc itself, that's about them, they become a Straw Hat, and then there are those that are just like they join the ship, but in a way that's like seemingly temporary, and then not seemingly temporary, but they don't consider, like they're not actually trying to join the crew. They're just like fulfilling their own ends or something, and then eventually they become a crew member, like Nami, like Robin, stuff like that. Nan says, Morj, have you watched Smiling Friends? It's funny as L. So I have watched a few episodes. They're also short, so it's very easy to watch them. I don't know where people watch them because like streaming wise, it's not easily available. So I don't know where people are people just normally subscribe to that shit? I don't know. But I have watched a few episodes. I think I've watched 4 or 5 episodes actually. I don't really like Smiling Friends that much. Like I don't dislike it. Like I find it funny enough, kind of like, but I think I would almost never sit down and actually watch it. I feel like a lot of the humor feels to me like random humor, if that makes sense. Like that's its kind of thing to a degree, like just random. Like there's this character Alan, and in the first episode he's like, oh, I have to find the cheese, I have to find my special cheese, and like for me that's kind of like a Nickelodeon character type of a joke, like really being obsessed with cheese or something like that, like a kid's cartoon kind of joke. Obviously there's very adult jokes in it, but like I'm just saying, like the type of humor that it often has, it feels to me like it's kind of just random. I don't know, like a lot of people have said like, oh, Smiling Friends is like the new Rick and Morty, and as much flack as like Rick and Morty gets for like having gone down like the like, I think the show's gotten too up its own ass in recent seasons, although I did think a lot of season 7 episodes were like either really good or like really bad. But even though like I think Rick and Morty strayed from what it once was, and the fan base has gotten to be very annoying, I feel like Smiling Friends is almost nothing like Rick and Morty in that I do genuinely think that like like the memes aside or whatever, Rick and Morty does construct, at least earlier Rick and Morty, it does construct its jokes much more intelligently. It's not just like here random silly thing. Like a lot of it is that, like random silly bullshit. But then a lot of it is also like, here's a sci-fi concept that can build into this sci-fi concept that can turn into this sort of like very elaborate, sort of elaborately layered joke that goes down this and that and that. Like, you know, like even something that seems like a silly thing on the surface, like that Rick and Morty gag where like they run through this universe where it's like pizza that orders humans to eat or something like that. And then they've run into something where it's like phones that order pizza to eat and then humans as chairs. And like they go down this little rabbit hole of like spins on the same concept over and over. And like even something like that, it feels more creative to me than something that you would get out of Smiling Friends. You would have to watch it in the flow of the episode to get why I mean that. But I really don't think that, like, I was kind of watching Smiling Friends with the thought that, like, oh, I used to like Rick and Morty a lot. Not so much now, but I used to. Maybe this will be the new thing for that. And I definitely think that there's not really a comparison between the two shows. I think I just don't like Smiling Friends too much. I mean, I don't dislike it. How do I explain? I don't dislike it. If it was something I came across randomly, then I'd be like, oh, that's funny. Let me watch some more. But I think because I saw people saying it's going to be the next big thing, it's like the new Rick and Morty and stuff, that piqued my interest. And then I watched it. I was just like, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's, I don't know. It doesn't feel that different to me from a lot of other random Cartoon Network type shows, type humor that you might see, just a bit more adult in its themes. Not themes, like the gags that it does. Manifest Joe, thanks for the 5. Help Morj, I started playing the One Piece trading card game, and I'm running out of Super Chat money. Think we'll ever get a new Soldier Dock mech. Wait, can you get that card? Like, is there a super docking thing in the One Piece trading card game? I would not. I do know how trading card games can suck your money out, because I've played Yu-Gi-Oh! And lost literally hundreds of dollars to Yu-Gi-Oh! And this was in college when I didn't really have that much money to be losing. And then Hearthstone, where I did ultimately turn into one of those people that spent like 60 to open a bunch of packs. And so I spent probably over 100 on Hearthstone over a lifetime. And that shit can take your money. L Law says stop explaining jokes. I mean, it's just giving an example. Mm-hmm. Cocaine Grenade says, yeah, that shit with Justin Roiland made me not want to watch it anymore. But they replaced him. And so, like, the new voice actor is basically exactly the same. I did not think about it after I watched 2 episodes. I thought season 7 actually legitimately has, like, a few of the best episodes, I think, of the series. But then, like, a lot of the worst. It's like, the most, like extreme spectrum season. Like, I think I've been not so hot on the latest seasons. I think the newest season that I just watched, I genuinely really, really loved several of the episodes, but I just thought a lot of the others were like some of the worst shit, period. Yusuf says Hearthstone was fun. It used to be fun, and then it turned into the shit that it became. Manny says Smiling Friends is more so Newground humor and Zoomer brain rot. Yeah, that's kind of my sense, which is just like, is this what Gen Z really finds funny? Which is just like, it just feels like random for the sake of being random, kind of. I don't know. It had some gags that I thought were funny, but like a lot of it just felt like Gen Z skibidi type shit. I don't know. I just don't think it ever felt clever, if that makes sense. But I don't think it's trying to be clever. I think it's trying to be random, which I think is different, and I don't really care for it personally. It's YouTube and Newgrounds humor. Okay, Manny says I love it. I'm not trying to shit on it. Like, I guess I accidentally did. I think sometimes, and this is a personal flaw of mine, I think sometimes in my efforts to explain why I don't personally like something, I can make lots of comments about it that more broadly frame it as negative rather than just explaining what I don't like about it. But yeah, and that is a personal flaw of mine that I have generally tried to work on slightly, but you know, you just have to get better at it over time. Anyway, Ricardo Salto says Skibidi is not Gen Z, it's Gen Alpha. You're right, because there's such a big difference between Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They're totally different. They look exactly the fucking same to me. It's just that Gen Z is like bigger physically than Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha is just tiny and Gen Z is big, but they're the same shit. They're the same person. Nonsense Morj sounding like a real boomer, LMAO. Yeah. I'm a millennial. Leave me alone. And the worst part is I'm a millennial that could have been Gen Z. We're the millennials that are like just flirting with the border of Gen Z, but we're still technically millennials. I was born in 95, and I think Gen Z starts like 2-3 years after that. So I have to sound like an old-ass millennial, but it's true. It makes sense because I resonate more. Whoever came up with the generation divides is one smart motherfucker because it's true. Like, as much as I understand a lot of Gen Z's, like, plight and complaining about how the world sucks and, like, you know, things suck and we've inherited, like, a scorched earth, etc., basically, and, like, all that shit, I think I resonate more with, like, millennial tropes and millennial memes and, like, millennial culture and kind of the millennial experiences, even though I'm at the very tail end of it. Whereas a lot of Gen Z stuff, it just seems foreign to me in terms of, like, the things that they think are funny, their memes, their vocabulary, all of that. Whoever figured out where the generations divide knows what's up. Because, like, you go even a few years further and I'd fall into Gen Z, right? So I'm so close to Gen Z, but at the same time, I know that I resonate more with basically millennial culture overall. It's just accurate, you know? Manifest Joe says, Morj remembers where he was on 9/11 so he can count himself as a millennial. Yeah, and you know what's funny? So my sister, my younger sister, who was born in 98, I remember exactly where I was in 95. Sorry, not 95. 9/11. I was in kindergarten. They shut down school. I lived in New Jersey at the time, so you could actually faintly see smoke from where we were in New Jersey, and then walked from kindergarten back home, and then we're being shown on. My mom's showing on TV, like the TV's on, and you're seeing the tower stuff. And my dad actually worked at New York at the time, so there was some fear, like, wait, did something happen? But not really, because we'd gotten in contact with him pretty early on and knew that he was all good. And he didn't work there in New York, but he worked in New York. Yeah, so I remember exactly where it was. And what's funny is, like, I had this conversation with my sister recently. She was born in 98. And I was like, yeah, I think I specifically talked about how, like, remembering, like, where I was at 9/11. And she was just like, oh, that's bullshit. Obviously, you don't remember where you were at 9/11. And I was, like, kind of thrown aback because I was like, wait, you don't remember? And, like, that makes sense. She was a few years younger. Like, she was at an age that it makes sense you wouldn't remember. But the fact that she just thought it was absurd that I could remember what happened in 9/11, and I'm like, no, like, that was legitimately a memory that I have as a child. Like, that's a real thing. I was in kindergarten or 5th grade. I don't remember exactly now, but I know the school, like, little school that I was in was the same thing. It was like kindergarten, like K through 2nd grade, and then you go to a different school. Yeah. Okay, I got 4 minutes, and then I basically gotta call it. Daniel says, also, these generational splits are also mainly a U.S. distinction. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because, like, different countries, they're moving at different paces, right? Did Anime Dimension ever show up? Is Anime Dimension here? This is your last chance. Although, I mean, not your last chance. Next stream, I can also make you a mod or whatever. But for this stream, purposes of right now, this is your last chance. And then I'm going to call it a stream. Connor Forward says, Dinosaur Slaps. That movie is so good. It was, I don't know. I fucking loved dinosaurs as a kid. I was one of those dinosaur kids that just fucking loved dinosaurs and the concept of dinosaurs. I thought Dinosaur was, like, it's probably a movie that works. It's probably one of those movies that, like, it's unclear which age range it works exactly for. Because it's not, like, a fun kids movie. It's actually, like, it's a bit more gritty, and the problems that they deal with are, like, a bit more serious, if that makes sense. It's not, like, fun, colorful, like kids movies usually are. I think in retrospect, it was, like, a good movie. And, like, there's death and the chronosaurs and stuff, or whatever they're fucking called. And, like, a lot of scenes are, like, them just trying to find water and, like, within the herd, altercations, and, like, it's kind of brutal, and, like, the older dinosaurs, like, slowly decaying and, like, trying to survive and everything. And even just the opening scene is fairly brutal, and it's a brilliant opening scene, because I've gone back and watched that on YouTube just randomly on a whim, and it's an amazing opening scene. It's like if an egg just traveling from A to B, like, all across the fucking prehistoric era. But I think overall, as a kids movie, I can see maybe why it wasn't the most successful and why it kind of missed, because it's not like fucking what's a kid gonna fucking remember more? Like Dinosaur, like the way that gritty ass, like serious ass, like fucking dying of dehydration ass dinosaur like herd trying to survive movie would be. Like they're gonna remember that, or fucking Shrek. As a kid, I was taking Shrek all day, you know. So I think it's one of those where it's like a good ass movie, but maybe wrong crowd. I don't know. Akash Panda says it felt mediocre. The CGI did not age well. I wonder how much of that, like, I would like to give it another rewatch at some point, because I do wonder how much, like, I just didn't think it was I wasn't enamored with that movie when I watched it as a kid. But I do wonder how much of that was just like, I don't know, it's a bit less enjoyable for a kid than maybe for a slightly older person. I don't know. Colin Parker, thanks for the 5. Morj makes a video about Jupiter being a traitor. Oda, basically the next fucking day, calls Jupiter a snake. I do hope Jupiter's a traitor. I think that'd be interesting. And I think it fits the ideas of the arc quite a bit. Yeah, Parcastination 56 is watching Land Before Time at school on those rolling TV stands. See, Land Before Time, that's like a dinosaur movie for kids. Like, you know, that's the shit you show kids. And it had some scary shit, like the mom dying or whatever. But for the most part, it's like a colorful, like, cutesy little kids dinosaur movie, right? That shit slaps with kids. It makes sense why, you know? All right, I got to call it in a second. Yeah, I got to call it shortly. I think probably like right now. Let me check. Yeah, I think I'm just going to have to call it now. All right, guys. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. I thought this was a really fun chapter. Not fun chapter, but I did think it was a good chapter, and I think it's one that'll be appreciated more in retrospect. Yeah, next chapter, we seem to be guaranteed to get a big-ass bombshell, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I'll talk to you all later.